What's up, everybody? It's Big Baby here. This is Big Baby Reacts, episode 3 of Big Baby Reacts. We're going to be reacting to what if Chris Paul was a Laker, and why did the NBA veto the Chris Paul trade? The Lakers owner, Jeanie was on All the Smoke with Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes, and here we're going to hear what she has to say about that. Let's run it.
About an old story with some new information. Lakers owner Jeanie joining our friend Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes on All the Smoke. If you haven't seen that, please check it out. Jeanie explained why the 2011 trade for CP3 infamously fell through after the league essentially vetoed the deal. Here is the backstory you haven't heard yet.
I was upset when they vetoed it.
I can tell you exactly what happened, and it's hard to understand if you don't know like the background.
I didn't know about
how
it,
the
about
league
anything.
operates.
Background.
So if you remember,
say.
we were in a lockout.
Right? Yeah, we were.
So when there's a lockout, there's a moratorium on everything. You can't make trades, you can't do anything, except the general manager of the team felt that he had the authority to make a trade
of New Orleans at the time.
Right. So teams felt like, how is that possible? We didn't get a chance to make a trade for Chris Paul.
Because I thought that I thought David Stern at the time, the commissioner, vetoed the trade. But he vetoed the trade as the controlling owner of the Hornets. So it makes sense now. At the time it didn't, but now it makes sense. I was upset at David Stern. Why'd you veto the trade of Chris Paul? Like, come on, like, let's go. You know what I mean? So now it makes more sense. Because the trade package was 3-team trade. It was Houston, Lakers, and Hornets. Lakers got Chris Paul. Houston got Pau Gasol. The Hornets got Hornets got Kevin Martin, Dragic, Luis Scola, Lamar Odom, and a first-round pick. So that's a good trade. I liked it. I would have done the trade if I was the Hornets. But they vetoed it, and then a couple of days later, Chris Paul was a Clipper. So I understand now, as looking through everything, looking through the lens and everything, it makes sense why they vetoed the trade. At this whole time, I thought the owner or the commissioner, David Stern, vetoed it because he said, no, you can't do trades before the free agency. So I'm like, why did you do that? Like, come on. I was so upset. And finally, Jeanie explains it way better, than everybody else. So now I understand it 100%. I understand 100%. Now let's see what everybody else has did, like Richard Jefferson and Vince Carter and Rachel Nichols and Zach Lowe.
And so they all attacked the league and said this wasn't fair. David Stern didn't reject the trade as commissioner. He rejected the trade as governor of the New Orleans team.
Vince, what do you remember about what guys were saying in the league about this whole thing at the time? And what do you think would have happened if CP3 had joined forces with Kobe?
Well, thank goodness I have some things written down because I don't want to forget. But I'm trying to remember 2011. I was somewhere around the NBA, maybe Dallas. I could be wrong, but I do know that. But I said, like, if he goes there, first of all, I was like, wow, how are they able to do that? And that would be amazing, and that would be a cheat code with Kobe and CP3 together. Remember saying that?
That would be a cheat code.
And if that were to happen, Kobe would have his 6th ring. Yep. The Lakers will add another ring to their dynasty.
Yes, they would.
CP3 will definitely have a ring. And,
Chris Paul and Kobe, man, would be... Man, I know we keep talking about this since 2009, but can you just imagine Chris Paul, Kobe on the same team with that work ethic? RP Kobe, the legend. Just Chris Paul and Kobe together would be very competitive on both ends of the floor. You would see time and time again competitive matchups, competitive everything. Kobe would get on Chris Paul if he made a mistake. Chris Paul would get on Kobe if he made a mistake. You would see that talking on the court. You would see a lot of communication. So it's unfortunate that it didn't go through, and
CP3 would probably still be playing for the Los Angeles Lakers right now if that were to happen.
Excuse me.
Some of those things might be true. Some of them might not be. I think the Lakers' grand plan was...
Sign up right here. Bynum was playing at the highest level, all-star. Matt Barnes, Matt Barnes playing that tough, grit, grind, defense, shoot that mid-range threes in the corner, getting your face in middle piece, run our test, can guard Kevin Durant's, LeBron's, the James Harden, Westbrooks. He would guard those players, with that physicality. Those three right there, Kobe, Chris Paul, run our test. That's a big three right there. Everybody's talking about, they already have a big two. They have a big three in runner test, Kobe, and Chris Paul. That would win championships, because Chris Paul is really talented. Kobe is one of the best players of all time, and runner test is a very, very one of the greatest defenders of all time. And one of the greatest defenders of all time. Yes, I said it. NBA fans and Big Rex fans, I said Ron Artest is one of the greatest defenders of all time. Y'all think I'm crazy. But I like this lineup. I would like this lineup. Would win at least two out of two championships at best. Possibly three. You know what I mean? I like this lineup. Let's get back into the topic at hand.
Was CP, Kobe, and basically make the same Dwight Howard trade they ended up making later. Don't make the Steve Nash trade that just didn't work out and cost them a lot of draft picks. So you have CP, Kobe, Dwight is a big three. But let me ask you, is it a guarantee that they beat that Thunder team that made the finals?
Yes,
or the Spurs team that rose up and made back-to-back finals? Or the Heat team with LeBron? I think it's a guarantee they're right in the fight with all those teams. And yeah, if things break right, they have a ring. And a ring would change Chris Paul's legacy. The entire dialogue around him would be different and less sort of ring, toxic the way it is. But I don't think it's like a lock that they're winning a ring over those other teams. Those were awesome teams.
No, I agree. And it's so tough. The Lakers, they've been through so much. They just can't catch a break. It's so good to be able to revisit this and just see, could you imagine if the Lakers were able to get good players like Dwight Howard right after this, and
it'd be a wrap if we got Dwight.
Maybe LeBron James could go there. If only we could revisit stories about what could have been in Lakerland. Maybe they wouldn't have 17
those were all different.
They would have 18. It's like, what are we talking about here?
Different situation.
First of all, Chris Paul, the course of his life significantly changed.
Oh, Chris is struggling?
There is that.
He's on the number
come on,
one.
Rachel
number
Nichols,
one
really?
right
come
now.
on now.
Chris is struggling too.
See with the moment. I'm glad you remember the top of the show.
Yeah, there it is.
Zach, look, Jeanie was talking a lot about the role the league played. We all know that the Hornets were in between ownership groups. The league had stepped in as kind of a conservator.
Yeah.
And Jeanie made the point that we have heard for a long time. David Stern didn't veto this as commissioner. He vetoed it as governor. But the part that she was talking about that I found so interesting was other teams not having a chance to get in on the bidding. And that was a lot of the base of the frustration. That almost seems to me like a reason to have the trade go through. In a normal ownership group, you don't give everyone fair ups. I was just talking in the break to Richard. It's not like Kevin McHale gave every team in the NBA the chance to get Kevin Garnett. He called his old buddy Danny Ainge, and they made the deal. So the fact that the league owned the team and the other governors were.
But at the time, they vetoed it, and a couple of days later, Chris Paul was a Clipper. You know what I mean? Maybe the Hornets, Lakers, and Rockets, maybe that veto trade, maybe they didn't want to do a deal with each other after that, and they saw the opportunity to go for the Clippers trade, but it is what it is. We didn't get Chris Paul, and I'm officially over the Chris Paul trade. I've been over it, but I'm officially done talking about the Chris Paul trade because there's nothing we can't go back and get him. You know what I mean? Just like, what if Kobe didn't lose in 2008? What if Lakers didn't lose in 2004?
Were upset as conservators of the New Orleans Hornets that they didn't get for their own teams fair ups at Chris Paul. That's way outside what would normally happen. I don't understand, Zach, why that was given as the reason that then the NBA stepped in and said no.
Well, first of all, people make fun of Kevin McHale for not canvassing the league if he didn't do that. And they should make fun of him because you absolutely should canvass the entire league. If you know you're trading a star player, and other teams have done this in other examples, you call everyone, say best and final. This is it right now. Give me everything. And so, yeah, you absolutely should do that. This trade was this is why 3 and 4 team trades get so complicated because there are too many voices, too many competing agendas.
That's true.
And this was a totally anomalous situation, a lockout and the league effectively acting as the steward of the team. It was an anomalous situation. It'll hopefully never happen again. It was just very, very messy.
No, it was crazy.
Richard?
I'll play along. I'll play along with this hypothetical game, what we're playing. And this is why I'll say this. I understand. The cool thing about hearing Jeanie Buss tell this story is because a lot of people knew this. And
I did it.
This was also off the heels of LeBron James leaving, Cleveland and then going to Miami.
That's true.
So this whole like kind of talk of players leaving small markets and going to big markets, and there were owners that were upset about this, especially a bunch of the small market teams. Because at the time
I didn't know that was going on.
That's where a lot of the frustration. It wasn't that anti-Lakers. It wasn't that everybody didn't have things.
But at the
wait
time,
a second.
it seemed
now
like
the league is helping facilitate.
I will just say
at the time when they declined it, I thought the NBA didn't want the Lakers to win. I just felt like the NBA was trying to get at the Lakers from trying to win championships. Them getting Chris Paul would have been deadly. Them saying no kind of made me mad. Like, we're about to get Chris Paul. Hell, let's go. And they said no. I'm like, you can't do that. If two teams at the time, well, I thought you could. The three teams agreed to the trade. Boom, it's done. But I didn't know at the time David Stern was one of the owners of the Hornets at the time. I didn't know that. I thought he was a commissioner. I thought he did that as commissioner. But I'm so. It's like, man, if we had Chris Paul, we at least 18 championships. But even 19. Chris Paul still would have probably been a Laker by now. He still would have been a Laker. We always get so close to getting an actual good point guard. Since we haven't got a real talented point guard since Magic Johnson. I'm keeping it all the way real. I know we got Dennis Schroeder, Lonzo, and we haven't had an actual point guard, that brings out that fire, brings out that passion like Magic did and Chris Paul. So we got to get a point guard. That's our main focus in a couple years. If we lose Dennis Schroeder, or if we lose some point guards, we got to focus on getting a veteran point guard and another big center down the road in the future.
Small market teams losing players are big.
Let's not pretend that there are all kinds of trades that happen in this league where the ownership or the GM says, I'm not trading him to the Western Conference. Or that, again, to get back to the Kevin Garnett trade. The Lakers wanted Kevin Garnett, by the way.
Yeah, we did, but
and Minnesota ownership said, I'm not trading him in the Western Conference. So not everybody gets fair ups all the time. I just found that to be a very weird reason regular season. There's enough time for the past of certain teams to twist and turn and run into each other in ways no one could have expected. Certainly when the league.
And there you have it. Jeanie Buss said what she said, why they vetoed the trade, and it's unfortunate that had to happen, but it's a business. We can't complain about it anymore. We have, it's over with 2011, but what if Chris Paul and Kobe teamed up? They would probably win 3 championships. I'm going to go out on a limb, say 4. Kobe probably got his 6th or 7th ring, and Chris Paul got a couple rings. The Lakers would have got a lot of rings. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it is what it is. We can't complain about it anymore, Laker Nation NBA fans, but that's going to do it for episode 2. I made a correction. I said episode 3, beginning my intro. It's episode 2 of Big Baby Reacts, and that's going to do it for today's episode. We'll talk to you guys real soon, NBA fans. We out, you.